like, it's wildly unjust to subject people to this level of public scrutiny and this absurd duty when, like, they have no choice in the matter.
Yeah. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Yeah, I think it's interesting that something that basically only causes suffering of the people that it is about is also so expensive. It's such expensive misery, isn't it? I mean, anything where a British tabloid has any reason to be interested in you,
oh my God,
even for a single day.
It really feels like an act of abuse to me.
Yes, fame is abuse. Fame is abuse.
Okay, before we get into it, one other thing I want to say, all right? So last night, I think it was last night, Zendaya and Tom Holland were together. I don't know where they were going, but the paparazzi and fans descended on Zendaya, and she, looking just like the fucking queen that she is, was signing some autographs, was taking her photos, and Tom got in there and literally physically manhandled a pop and was like, get away. He literally put his hands on this paparazzi. Every fucking tweet that I have seen of this, every headline that I've seen of this is praising him, is saying, Tom Holland shows that he defends Zendaya. Like, Tom Holland, that's a fucking man. Okay, great. Whatever. Okay, whatever. The point of that is pointing out how, it's cool. It's commendable. It's awesome when Tom Holland like gets up in the paparazzi's face, literally puts his hands on a paparazzi who's taking a photo of his girlfriend. But then now, yet again, here is a response to Chapel where people are just falling over themselves, being like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. She should be kicked out. She should not be famous. She can't handle fame. The industry is ungrateful. Why the double standard? Always the double standard. Ava Sinclair, thank you for the tier 1. Yep, but when Chapel stands up for herself, she needs some decorum. Yes. Yeah.
In a post-Me Too world, we've come to understand fame as a weapon wielded by powerful people to manipulate, abuse, and silence others. We've watched as major names like Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, and Bill Cosby have crumbled under their own hubris.
You make me feel young again.
In our current public understanding, fame is power. But to what extent is that really true? Are fame and power always the same thing? Or is there ever a point where fame becomes a weapon wielded by the public as a means of abusing the famous? I recently came across a tweet by fellow YouTuber Sarah Zed, which made me really want to explore this question. In it, she said, I want to talk about this public figure thing, just because, I feel like in insular internet communities, people vastly overestimate the amount of systemic power and prestige certain people have. This raised the question to me of what happens when someone has fame, but no power. Yes, fame comes along with endless privileges, but once it reaches a certain level, is it something that we as human beings are capable of withstanding?
Yeah, Anna Nicole Smith, another example of a woman who was just fodder. She was just absolute fodder for the, paparazzi and tabloid media, and also extending past that. And people just relished in calling her a slut and, just shitting all over her. Sometimes at Mendocino Farms affiliates just won't leave me alone. Starting to feel like Chapel. Stand on business, baby. Pull that Chapel out.
Maybe there's only an extent to which we can meet the demands of our public selves until we reach a breaking point. Maybe there's a point where fame itself becomes a form of abuse. To unpack this, we have to consider the idea of celebrity. Chris Rojek, the definitive pioneer of contemporary celebrity studies, defines celebrity as the attribution of glamorous or notorious status within the public sphere. He says that celebrity is a split between the public and private self. Of course, we all present a version of ourselves in the public that's different from when we're at home. I'm presenting a version of myself to you right now. But the celebrity self is presented to a much, much larger public than the regular Joe. Our current society almost revolves around celebrity culture, and we've been doing this for most of the 20th and 21st centuries. The public identities of figures like Marilyn Monroe, Elvis, Kurt Cobain, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, or Amy Winehouse have lived on much longer than the private people who embodied them, and have helped to shape the culture we live in. But there's one figure in particular who really cemented the public-private identity of the celebrity as we know it today. Do I even have to say her name? Princess Diana, whose charisma, vulnerability, and generosity won the hearts of the world, had an unprecedented impact on society's conception of what it meant to be famous. In an article published shortly after her untimely death, Jonathan Alter wrote, "If Helen of Troy was the face that launched 1,000 ships, Lady Di launched at least 1,000 covers and hundreds of millions of..."
Literally the most photographed celebrity ever. Ever. That is how much the paparazzi's obsession, that's how great the paparazzi's obsession with Diana was. And she was, she did something at the time that was not common, and that was to call out the paparazzi. That was to talk openly about how much fear it had caused her and her sons, and the way that Diana just spoke openly in general was pretty unheard of for somebody of her position. Louis Tomlinson has done this too. He literally yelled at Paps as he should have. "Fucking Paps, get a proper job, you dick." And it's a fan favorite quote of his, but Chappell does similar things. She's not going to last in the industry. There's a lot of examples. Yes, there's a lot of examples to point out the double standard of why is it okay when a male celebrity does it? Why is it okay? Why is it celebrated, treated as an act, a heroic act when Tom Holland puts his hand on a paparazzi? And Zendaya even said to him, like, it's okay, it's fine. Like, I don't care about that interaction, but I care about how it speaks to this double standard. Newspaper and magazine sales. In the 16 years since her marriage, she became not only the most famous woman in the world, but the only personality who consistently sold big in the global marketplace. There was even a time when Diana was the most photographed person in history. Since her death, the power of her image remains stronger than ever. Say the words revenge dress to anyone and they'll probably know what you're talking about. Yet the irony of Diana's role as a public figure is that her extreme fame is both what made her a fixture of history and what caused her demise. Alter goes on to say, "Dodging tabloid photographers, she was doing her bit not just to preserve some privacy, but to hold back forces that she helped unleash. Forces of media intrusion that will now be subjected to an unprecedented backlash. In a twisted way, she died in the line of duty, not to country, but to the age she came to represent." Diana's entire existence, her life and her death, is contradictory. She was the master operator of the camera, knowing the exact outfits, poses, and moments that would give the people what they wanted, but she was also a victim of it. This contradiction of simultaneously feeding off of public interest and being abused by it is a product of a dynamic that scholars call the parasocial relationship. First coined by sociologists Horton and Wall in 1956, the parasocial relationship is an intentional but illusionary dynamic between an audience and a public figure, typically in the realm of mass media. Essentially, it's when we think we know a celebrity intimately despite the fact that they're a stranger to us. Diana was the poster child for this. When she died, the world genuinely grieved for someone they had never met. So for this video, I want— That's not true. Ludwig made it up in 2020. Yeah, that is... Let's give Ludwig the credit here.
I want to look at what I see to be three facets of parasocial relationships and how they facilitate abuse. Persona, authenticity, and intimacy. And rather than focusing on Diana, I'm going to look at 3 different celebrity case studies to explore how wide-ranging parasocial relationships can be. Let's start off with Britney. Persona is a crucial aspect of parasocial relationships. According to Horton and Wall, the public's closeness with a celebrity is contingent upon their appreciation for how well they manage to present themselves as a real person, regardless of how constructed that realness may be. When we get a glimpse of a celebrity's private image, it's typically complementary to their public image. Britney Spears was an excellent example for this. Since the start of her career, Britney had always occupied a pretty contradictory public identity. From the outset, she dangerously teetered the line between baby and woman, Madonna and Magdalene. She perplexed audiences with her hypersexual getup and carefully trained baby voice, the bizarre combination of which was distilled in this 1999 cover for Rolling Stone.
It is literally the definition of sexy baby, right? It's sexy baby, but as long as she was still virginal, as long as she was still innocent, even though it was sexy baby, then it was okay.
To the American Family Association, who decried it as a disturbing mix of childhood innocence and adult sexuality, even going so...
Okay, I'm just dying at this old Rolling Stone cover because look at right here. Bill Maher, what he won't say on TV. Was that really ever the case? Because I feel like Bill Maher has always been saying stuff on TV.
Far as to ask God-loving Americans to boycott Britney's albums. But in the early years, detractors of Britney's hybrid image were easily shooed away. Why, you ask? Well, Britney and her team were very adept at enforcing a version of Britney's private self that helped to soften her hypersexual public self. Her roots from a rural Mississippi town called Kentwood initially cast her as an earnest, hardworking, all-American woman. She was just an ordinary gal whose raw talent allowed her to be plucked from obscurity and thrust into the limelight. Of course, this wasn't true. Britney's parents pushed very hard for their daughter to make a name for herself. She also had a very astute PR team and record label who gleefully capitalized on the public's perverse interest in teenage girls by making it seem like Britney was unaware of her sexual appeal.
Listen, I'm 37.
A sexy baby that doesn't know that it's sexy. It's like... a sexy baby that is not aware of it being sexy. I'm also thinking of Miley and the blowback she got from... Yeah, I know she covers Miley in this
How
video.
old are you?
I'm 17.
I'm old enough to be your mother. I don't want to see you in that shirt again, unless you
I'm
ever
so
vest.
glad you're bringing this up. I was so humiliated. You do not understand. I'm going to Orlando thinking it's going to be like 90-degree weather, and a storm, of course, goes through when I get there. And then I go out there, and when I came back, there was nothing I could do, and I was so humiliated.
Yeah, it was cold. Things happen.
The way they were able to do this was by leaning into her Southern heritage and waving away criticism by chalking up her hypersexuality to being a product of small-town naivete.
So you have no problem at all reconciling the, Christian values, good moral, upstanding values, with being a little flirtatious, tantalizing, provocative?
You would be boring if you couldn't flirt. I mean, it doesn't say in the Bible that you can't flirt or be sexy.
In a 1999 autobiography, she says, "The crop tops and hip huggers I wore in some of my videos were the kind of clothes we used to wear in Kentwood. It can be scorching during the summer, so the barer the better. And I'm real comfortable dancing in them." Kentwood was branded as a place of humble beginnings. An American every town.
Like another example, because I really need people to understand that we're talking about Britney Spears right now, and we're talking about the 90s, but especially early 2000s era, where you had, you had social media being introduced that heightened this public desire to know everything about these celebrities. And to be clear, paparazzi and the culture of tabloid magazines, that's been around for longer. That, like, it didn't start in the 90s, but this is really when it reached its height, right? You had Lindsay Lohan like wasted on the cover. You had Amy, photographers documenting, stalking Amy Winehouse to get pictures of her. as she descended into her addiction and her mental health problems, and then eventually died. And so, yes, this is from 20 years ago, but this is still, it's not as if we dismantled this culture, right? And it relates, and that's because we still live in a patriarchal society. And a lot of this stems from that culture of misogyny and of, the dominating patriarchy. And I like, here another example is Sabrina Carpenter. Like, I've seen a lot of comments chastising Sabrina Carpenter for being sexy at her shows because children. Well, first of all, Sabrina Carpenter's 25 years old, and correct me if I'm wrong, but she doesn't market herself to kids. There is no reason why Sabrina Carpenter should have to be should have to not be sexy in her performance. Like, her songs are about sex. Yes, absolutely. And yet I think that attitude highlights how there is this balance beam of, okay, well, you can be cute and flirty and sexy, but if you cross into the territory of being inappropriate for children, even when you are not marketing yourself to children, then it's bad. It's bad. And we are going to condemn you for this. There's a habit of infantilizing Sabrina because she's very short too. She's short. She wears like baby doll dresses. She has a very, she also has like a sexy baby vibe where she's a tiny person. She has a round face, big hair. She looks like a doll. Yeah, she looks like a Polly Pocket. Don't embarrass me, motherfucker, a song meant for kids.
Where people don't have a lot, but work hard to make an honest living.
Welcome to my hometown of Kentwood, Louisiana. It's a small, small town about an hour north of New Orleans. This is my great-grandmother. Everybody calls her Granny. And you haven't tasted any seafood until you taste hers. People come from all around for her crawfish. Hey, Jet Man. I work the cash register and clean the tables and help the customers. These are going to be the best shrimp you've ever had. I really love living in Louisiana. The people here are so nice. They treat you like family and make you feel right at home.
In the same book, Brittany's mom, Lynn, says, "Looking back, I don't know how we managed, but somehow we did. Bad as it was, it taught us something. God helps those who help themselves. We came together as a family in our times of need, and just knowing that the 5 of us were in this together, not to mention all of our kin and friends who were always offering us help and hand-me-downs, gave us the strength to see it through." So Brittany's original image was a delicate balance between the southern mores of respectable working-class womanhood and the hypersexual pseudo-confidence of Hollywood. But this persona started to break down when she began to reach the level of superstardom. As Jennifer Musial points out, the height of Spears' popularity in Hollywood illustrates how hard it is to reconcile rural, white, working-class Southern values with expectations of celebrity transformation. The Hollywood celebrity script required Spears to turn her background into a brand, or transcend it altogether by adopting bourgeois respectability. Brittany's choices to continue shopping at Walmart, or chew gum in interviews.
Although she seems to still be a sweet Southern girl dressed down in casual clothes, chewing gum firmly planted in her mouth.
Or use a public washroom barefoot.
Oh my God. She's chewing gum. Burn her at the stake.
We're starting to clash with her extreme wealth and delicate Southern belle persona. She was no longer naive about her sexuality, since her Christian good girl image was shattered by Justin Timberlake when he revealed in 2003 that she had actually slept with him.
Did you Britney Spears? Yes or no? Oh man. Come on, man. Okay, I did it.
Breaking her promise.
I will always be rooting for this man's downfall. Always. Always.
Abstinence. When she was married to Kevin Federline, who was cast as a gold-digging good-for-nothing, she failed to meet America's expectations of motherhood, partying, displaying a sexual intimacy with her husband in the public sphere, God forbid, and on one fateful occasion, driving in the front seat with her baby, to which she responded,
I did it with my dad. I'd sit in his lap and I'd drive. We're country.
But this usual appeal to her modest Southern upbringing no longer worked. In the eyes of the public, Britney was now the symbol of white trash womanhood. As Musial states, unlike her early years, Spears was no longer the humble, wholesome new Southern belle. Now she was backward, irresponsible, and unapologetic. And public scrutiny of Britney was brutal.
What has Britney Spears done this past year? What has she lost?
She's lost her sanity.
Her underwear.
She's lost her boyfriend.
Got it. Got him.
Respect her dignity, number 5.
Got him.
Her children, number 6. 8, I guess. Number 7. Her fans. Alrighty, there you have it.
You okay, Britney? You sick?
This way.
I thought she was pregnant. Are you okay, Brittany?
Your car's this way, Brittany.
Car's this way.
Over here, Brittany. Your car is here.
Back off the drive, gentlemen. This won't happen if you just back off.
And you see what happened?
Sorry about that, Brittany.
I'm a person just like you.
Why don't you take one right now? Your people. Can you take a picture of us, Brittany?
It was the greatest impression of an office worker embarrassing themselves at a holiday party I have ever seen. 5 stars, Brittany. Bravo. It involved a lot of mirrors. And when Britney was rehearsing it, she kept stopping the song and saying, "Who hired the fat girl?"
Thank goodness you said that and not me. Extra claimed that she was seen texting somebody immediately after her performances. Any guesses on the nature of the text, Joel, and the recipient of the text?
Well, I'm not sure, but I think we can rule out dietitian, personal trainer, psychologist, clothing stylist, makeup artist, nanny. I can keep going. Actual musician, songwriter. Stop me at any time.
Constant surveillance, ridicule, and public humiliation culminated in the 2007 moment I'm sure you're all well acquainted with.
This idea tonight. Chris, what happened to the hair? It's gone on the floor, huh? Come on.
This has now become one of...
Yeah, and I just want to say, since Diddy popped up there, it's interesting that Diddy was not subjected to this level of harassment or scrutiny or any of this shit when the rumors about Diddy, and not just rumors too, but the instances of Diddy being involved in like very serious things did not warrant any of this obsession, right? It's like there's just to see how Britney Spears was treated, and there are a lot of other examples we can point to, but I think Britney is a real prime example of how Britney, when you compare her to an industry filled with violent men, sex abusers, etc., none of them received anything close to what she did. And here's another example. This is horrible, but this is Britney crying outside of her house.
You gonna go for a walk?
Looking nice, Britney.
You look nice, Britney. Where are you going? Why are you crying, Britney?
You okay, Britney?
Are you okay, Britney?
You should go home, Britney.
Do you need to talk to someone, Britney?
Britney, I love your hat.
Can you please go away?
Can you go home, please, Britney?
Very stylish. Let's go, hey, Caco. Hey, Carlito, hey.
Guys, come on,
Hey, guys, hey.
Good shot, man.
Oops. Help! Digo que sí.
Y'all should know better.
Get in your car.
Yes.
I know I don't fucking care about you. Get your fucking problem.
Excuse me. Y'all cannot be on the property. Y'all leave because the cops is coming right now.
I'm so fine.
Huh?
Why are you crying?
Brittany.
I'm sitting for once and having a nice time with my dog.
That's it? Why don't you call Anna to give you some
You want to call
love?
Anna, Brittany?
You want to call Anna to tell her to come?
Do you want to kick it, Brittany?
You want to call Anna on Brittany?
Did you fight with Sam?
Do you need someone to talk to, Brittany?
Yeah, she definitely wants to talk to one of you guys.
One of the most iconic moments in pop culture history. For all the wrong reasons, of course, but it was nonetheless a breaking point in how we understand celebrities. In the throes of a public divorce and admittance into rehab, Brittany walked into a salon in Sherman Oaks and shaved her head, to the dismay of her public and
Oh, also the other thing that I was going to mention, Sarah, thank you for the Prime. Silent, thank you for the 4 months. Is the guy who, I can't remember his name, but he was the one who really started this culture of paparazzi, tabloid, constant surveillance, and doing anything to snap the shot. And it started back in the 50s with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. So Elizabeth Taylor, who was, cast as the home-wrecking whore in opposition to like the good girls of the era, because she was married multiple times, because she had an affair with Richard Burton on the set of Cleopatra. It's one of the most famous celebrity affairs. And this guy who basically taught himself, he bought a camera, took some photojournalism classes, flew to Italy where Richard and Taylor were, and he stalked them to get these photos. He sold them for hundreds of dollars, which at the time was, a ton of money. And what he talked about in his motivations, aside from just, making cash, was that celebrities deserve to have their bad moments be documented and shared with the world as a kind of revenge for the fact that they have lucked out compared to most of the people in this world by being famous and having all of the luxuries and privileges that come along with fame. And that attitude really fostered this culture of not just paparazzi, harassing and stalking and doing literally anything to get the shot, but also people consuming it and believing that they are entitled to a celebrity's downfall. And I'm not just like, look, an affair is one thing, okay? But a full-blown mental breakdown of the kind that Britney Spears had is something that was treated as entertainment, and also people getting satisfaction out of it because you love to see someone fall. And I think to compare that to where we are today, we still have this culture of wanting to see someone's downfall. And it's why like dogpiling on the internet happens. It's why like people are drawn in when you might not know shit about dick, but you see you see a shitstorm stirring online, you see somebody who's getting attacked, and you're like sitting there with the popcorn. We are drawn to that, and especially when it's somebody who we perceive as having having more than what we have, and it's not fair, and so they deserve to suffer. Like somebody who's famous, I will have no empathy for them. I will be here to watch their downfall, even if that downfall is they are mentally crumbling under the weight of fame and all of the shit that comes along with it. And, you know, the expectations that you've given up your right to privacy and your right to be treated as a human being. They want to see they all want to see the devastation, not be in on it. Not be in it. Doja Cat. You see it with streamers all the time. Right. And it's why, like, look, I'm no Chapel Roan, but I would like to try to contribute to, I would like to try as a streamer to kind of do what Chapel's doing. And that is to not like feed into and treat this as acceptable. And I think when streamers engage in these, engage in drama as content, it perpetuates this because it's signing off on it as normal and acceptable. And so when viewers, when consumers see this, they too then, like, I'm not blaming, it's not that I'm like blaming one over the other, but it's just all of it contributes to a very toxic culture. Sierra, thank you for the 6 months. Yeah, it's trickled down to even people at restaurants. It's why, you know, that tweet that I covered the other day of that woman who was eavesdropping on a conversation between a couple where they were getting divorced, and the woman was saying, like, you've never supported my art, blah, 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 and the man was being very mean to her. And then she posted, this eavesdropper posted online, had the personal information of the woman in it, was posting pictures of her art that she had found, and was making fun of it. And a lot of people jumped in to mock this woman as if it was like she deserved that. She deserved that because she was in public, and so therefore it's anything goes. Like, you have a fight with your spouse in a public restaurant. Not even a fight, like they were at dinner and they were having this conversation regarding their divorce, and to this random bitch at the Olive Garden, she's like, ooh, this means now that you have given up your right to not have me post your personal information online and have a tweet that garners 500,000 likes, and I post a poll of whose team are you on.
Delight of the media. This was highly documented by over 70 photographers, and there's been a lot of speculation throughout the years about whether she had consciously made this a symbolic decision. But
I forgot about that. Your very personal moment is now my viral post.
Intentional or not, it was symbolic. In shaving off her locks, Britney had shed her blonde bombshell identity. This was Britney revealing her true private self for the very first time. But what this private self was exactly, we can never be sure, since the photos documenting this moment don't exactly pin down a single reaction from Britney. She goes from contemplative to defiant to lost to happy from picture to picture. As Moya Luckett puts it, the coherence this photo series resists evokes a fragmented persona, spurring discussion, debate, and even art as the public rush to judge, diagnose, and fill in the many gaps. Later, we were told that Britney was undergoing a mental health crisis, as she was allegedly diagnosed with bipolar disorder, lost custody of her children, and placed under a now infamous conservatorship with her father Jamie. She's since been ostensibly redeemed in the public eye, but it's difficult to tell whether it's because the public itself has become more forgiving, or because any signs of veering off the course of her carefully constructed image have been quashed by the conservatorship. I'm thinking it's a mixture of both. Ultimately, Britney's inability to maintain a private image that was congruent with her public one is the reason her persona became fragmented. Britney's acceleration into fame may have cemented her as an icon, but it came at a brutal cost.
What do you think it'll take to get the paparazzi to leave you alone? Is that one of your biggest wishes?
Yeah. It's okay. I would like for them to leave me alone.
In her commentary,
Just remember, the paparazzi are a symptom of the culture, right? They would not, they could not continue to behave as they have been known to, as they often do, without the reward of it.
On Britney's public breakdown, Luckett says, her actions suggest a figure whose intimate life has become so public that millions have to witness her experiences and emotions to validate that they exist. In turning herself into representation, Spears reveals that she is like us, a spectator participant in celebrity culture. Now, the goal of constructing a private image for the celebrity is a means of simulating a performance of authenticity. In an essay on celebrity authenticity, Erin Myers says, the supposedly true, intimate, and behind-the-scenes details of a celebrity's private life are of the utmost concern for media sources, as they emphasize the notion of a real celebrity who, in her unguarded or supposedly outside the public eye moments, is just like the average person. Thus, while the fan may recognize that the star seen on screen or stage is a highly constructed figure, the star is brought close and revealed as a regular person through the coverage of the details of her private life within the media. Of course, as we saw with Britney, it's all about making sure that your private celebrity image is kept within our social norms, or else you can be deemed a pariah or a train wreck. Which means there's an important distinction to be made between manufactured authenticity and candidness. I think the best case for this is the very different evolution in the celebrity images between Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus. Both stars were titans on the Disney Channel, with each getting their own respective show, many hit songs, and one Jonas brother. From the looks of it, it seemed like Miley and Selena would have a similar trajectory into adult stardom. But obviously this didn't happen because we were obsessed with taking bets on which Disney stars will make it out okay and which will derail into train wrecks. And we saw this divergence play out in the media once again as Selena and Miley reached their later teens. Miley's role model status quickly plummeted when she appeared underage and scantily clad on a 2008 cover of Vanity Fair. From here on in, Miley was now a certifiable bad girl, and thus the subject of widespread public scrutiny. Pole dancing at the 2009 VMAs, being the subject of leaked, risque photos, and a video of her doing salvia, ending with her official induction into bad girldom with the Can't Be Tamed video. But it was also around—
It's so interesting to revisit some of this stuff because when all this was happening, I was a teenager, and if I'm looking back, I remember that I just bought into all of it. It was very, I would see all this and think that it was, this was all of Miley's fault and that she was bad, et cetera, et cetera. It's wild looking back on who we used to idolize, realizing they were just some 19, 20-year-old, so much pressure and toxicity to handle I couldn't imagine. And keeping in mind that when you reach a level of fame, you become a brand. You have been molded and shaped by all of, especially if you are a young person, by the adults in your life, by by your managers, your agents, like whoever, and how that brand is important to maintain so that the public continues to love you. And when you go against the brand, when you start to buck what you have set forth, what your team has, molded you into, that's when the rejection comes. That's when well, wait a second, this is not what was sold to us. Around this time when Miley began stepping out of the carefully maintained and closed-off image of Disney.
So is this phase of your life and your career over as you move on to the next area?
Well, the show still is going to air coming towards the end of this year. There'll be more Hannah Montana episodes, so that's still, good for my younger audience that they can, have that. And, there's a lot of everyone likes the show, you know, it's a family show. So it's good for the families, and then, so that's not, you know, completely over for my fans, but I'm kind of moving on to new things.
Selena, on the other hand, was still acting on Wizards of Waverly Place and starring in a number of Disney and children's movies. Her singing career was beginning to take off, but her songs and performances remained pretty PG. Even when the moment came for her to shed her good girl persona in 2013 with Spring Breakers, she was cast in a role that was much more tame than her co-stars. Despite the two having been pitted against each other ever since they vied for the human equivalent of a Kraft single, the two stars crossed paths when Selena appeared on Miley's Instagram Live in 2020. And the contrast here in how these two represent themselves is clearer than ever. Miley speaks in her usual rapid manner. She wears a kitschy Gucci sweater and is surrounded by loud scenery. Selena, on the other hand, is wearing a simple blue sweater with her hair tied back and sits in a clean white room. Unlike Miley, she speaks slowly and meditates on her responses.
You know, what's something that you can use to filter helpful thoughts versus hurtful thoughts? Because I know this is a time where the ants just totally want to attack our brain. And I think when things like this are happening, we love to be future telling. We love to be psychics, where we
Just want to say your
know
argument was very well
what's
done
going to
last
happen.
night. Thank
We really
you.
don't know anything, and it can just give us anxiety. What do you use to keep yourself helpful?
Communicating with like women I respect. You know, like I have a few older women that I look up to that aren't in the industry. They I call them, and I think talking through what it is you're feeling is extremely helpful.
When they talk about their respective struggles with mental health, Miley goes directly through childhood anecdotes, whereas Selena keeps her discussion more general. This contrast underscores the very filtered nature of Selena's image, even when she's opening up, as opposed to the almost stream of conscious way that Miley presents. This can also be seen in their individual interviews throughout the years. Upon going through various videos and articles featuring Selena and Miley, my researchers and I found that Miley tended to be much more flexible with her vocabulary and tone. She's also very defiant towards criticism.
You have been half naked almost this whole year, it seems to me.
It's getting cold now, so I gotta...
You're wearing a little silk shirt.
For example, in a 2010 interview with Parade, she says, "I am not a doll, and people want to treat me that way. They say, now this is what we need to do with your makeup, and this is what I want you to wear." And I'm like, dude,
Miley.
I choose. When I was 12, that was okay, but I'm older now. I have an opinion. I have my own taste. Her tone is often casual, and she rarely holds back.
Regardless of their public image, people can have different No. That's not what Broey is talking about here. What she is examining is these are two people who grew up in the limelight. They were famous at a very young age. They have, you know, their different teams. They have, well, their brands started off similar, but then they diverged. And she's pointing out how in the research that she and her team conducted for this video, that there were notable differences that, let's be real, you know, it's not about personality. This is what I was talking about the other day where, you know, when you are a public figure, especially, but all of us do this to a certain degree, but everything is a performance that is part of your brand. And so what she's talking about is how Miley and Selena really diverged as far as the brand, you know, their branding goes. Miley went through a lot of shit when she tried to rebuff the Disney Channel image. It was a very tumultuous time. There was the infamous VMAs with Robin Thicke. There was the cover of that magazine. There was her like very clearly trying to do a 180 from her Disney Channel days. And that was, yeah, the Bangers era.
Back with swearing, where Selena, even to this day, is much more measured in her interviews. When she spoke with Gia Tolentino for Vogue earlier this year, she said, "I think I spent so many years just trying to say the right thing to people for the sake of keeping myself sane. I'm such a people pleaser." Selena has often been referred to as a role model for her fans, but Miley has long occupied the opposite position. Whenever she's interrogated about falling into the footsteps of Britney and Lindsay Lohan, she and her family have maintained that Miley and other celebrities of her ilk are simply doing what non-famous girls their age are doing.
You know, you have to realize this is a 20-year-old girl.
21.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be forgetting that I just had a birthday.
Okay, 21, but these things are happening at 20. This is what 20-year-olds do. You know, she's just doing it in front of the world.
In response to the controversy surrounding the alleged pole dance, she says, "My job first is to entertain and do what I love. If you don't like it, then change the channel. I'm not forcing you to watch me. I'm not forcing you to talk about me. I would do that pole dance 1,000 times again because it was right for the song and that performance. But dude, if you think
Miley said, I will pole dance 8,000 times.
dancing on top of an ice cream
You
cart
will
with a
not
pole is
stop me.
bad, then go check out what 90% of high schoolers are really up to." Sound familiar?
I mean, I can't help that. And if the parents don't like them to see it, then change the channel. So, sorry,
So maybe the difference is in Miley and Selena's personal philosophy on fame. One believes that celebrities are a reflection of real life and don't have an onus to instruct their audience on what a role model should be.
Also, yeah, this video is 3 years old, and therefore, I think Selena, like, being open about mental health and her physical health has happened mostly in the last couple years. So this is not something that will include that because this is a couple years old. Her doc is 2022. Okay. And otherwise, though, I will say, like, there are notable differences between the branding of Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus, even with the addition of, well, in the last couple of years, Selena has been open about her physical and mental health struggles.
And the other is a people pleaser who believes celebrities should present an ideal for their audience. But I mean, this isn't exactly true. Selena Gomez has always discussed the fact that she's not perfect, and that she wants to set a good example, but doesn't want to necessarily be perceived as a role model. When she spoke to Vogue in 2017, she said, "People so badly wanted me to be authentic, and when that happened, finally, it was a huge release. I'm not different from what I put out there. I've been very vulnerable with my fans, and sometimes I say things I shouldn't. But I have to be honest with them. I feel that's a huge part of why I'm where I am." So I think what it really boils down to is the difference in how they frame their private selves in public. When Selena presents her private image, it's through highly mediated encounters, through a structured sit-down with Vogue, through the occasional inspirational Instagram caption. Just take a look at her account compared to Miley's notorious shitposting. Selena's openness with the public is very restrained. When interviewing Selena about her past health struggles, Amy Schumer asks, "I think people worry about you. I've worried about you. Should we be worried about you?" And in response, Selena offers up some platitudes. Some people just get off on building people up and then trying to bring them down. I guess what I mean is that people worry about me because I've had some trouble in the past. And it's kind, it is, but I'm okay. Her references to personal struggles are always very vague. But see, Selena represents the standard for celebrities because she delivers a sort of manufactured authenticity. As Myers says, it's the tension between the two sides of the persona, larger than life, and the real person, coupled with the tension between the possibility and impossibility of knowing the truth about her life, which makes celebrities so intriguing to the public and such apt ideological symbols. And this is where she really differs from Miley. Where Selena represents manufactured authenticity, Miley represents candidness. But although Miley's candidness has led to her fair share of Britney-esque vitriol in the media, we can't discount that Selena has been a victim of fame herself. Her closed-off approach may have saved her from public scrutiny, but it's also allowed for her massive fan base to fill in the gaps and create their own idealized version of her. Ever since her breakup with Justin Bieber and her struggles with lupus, Selena's rare moments of opening up to the press have led people to read her as a fragile person. Just look at the way Gia Tolentino describes her. "The room is warm, and the afternoon is becoming opaque, and the superstar in front of me is giving off a soft, bruised quality." I find myself, as many fans and casual observers of Gomez have found themselves, wanting to protect her, to make her happy, to cheer her up. Selena appears to have lived a very restricted life. She even told Vogue this year that she doesn't have access to her social media anymore. Her assistant does. Miley's authenticity...
Yeah, that's another thing, too, is, like, Selena Gomez has become known for quitting social media, but then coming back. And I think she has a really unhealthy relationship with social media. And I think social media has been a double-edged sword for celebrities, especially female celebrities, in that it was a way for them to take back control, not just have their lives be narrated by paparazzi and, media stories of them, but that, like the rest of us, they can post on social media. They can show people who they are, with the idea being that social media is authentic, baby. And it allows them to tell their own story and show themselves in the way that they want to be shown. And yet, and use their platform to voice their opinions and thus have control over how their image is shaped. But on the other hand, social media is manufactured authenticity. And Selena in particular, when she is facing any heat and her cultivated image online cannot withstand, whatever, the criticism, then she makes an announcement that she's leaving social media and that blah, 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 only to quickly return because Selena, like a lot of us, are addicted to social media. And without it, what do you have to show who you are on your terms? Yeah, fucking James Corden. Yeah, sorry, jump scares, trigger warnings. Amy Schumer, James Corden.
Public has gotten her into trouble, but Selena's commitment to performing this authenticity means that she might not be living with any degree of autonomy that a person should be. In response to Selena's desire to break free from Disney, Tolentino says, "It's partly a matter of her face, which remains stubbornly youthful. Even when she's going full bombshell, you can still imagine her cheeks surrounded by flowers and cartoon hearts. It's clear that Selena's personal brand of authenticity has placed her in a perpetual state of adolescence. People describe her in a way that makes her sound like a porcelain doll rather than an autonomous, near 30-year-old. She even said to Vogue, "Look, I love what I do and I'm aware of how lucky I am, but how can I say this without sounding weird? I just really can't wait for people to forget about me." Both Selena and Miley were placed in the Britney, Lindsay, Amanda pipeline, and both have used their separate tactics of authenticity and candidness to avoid going down that route. Miley has tried to take control of the abuse by staying one step ahead of the public and capitalizing on her lack of restraint by making it a brand. Conversely, Selena has submitted herself to the public by manufacturing a passive private image, which has in turn restricted her from breaking free of her adolescent public self. However you read this, authenticity versus candidness, there always seems to be a sort of double-edged sword for celebrities of this caliber, particularly for women. Candidness can subject celebrities to public scrutiny and outcasting, but it also allows them to navigate life unrestrained, if they're prepared for it. And manufactured authenticity helps to preserve a public image, but that doesn't necessarily equate to an unrestrained private life. So is there really any healthy way to navigate fame and the public-private balance at this level? I don't know.
Dakota loves limes, but actually she hates limes.
Intimacy is potentially the most defining aspect of parasocial relationships. This dynamic completely hinges upon the idea that members of the public forge a connection with celebrities that's much closer from their perspective than the stars. Like when I was personally offended when Aaron Johnson got together with Sam Taylor Wood back in 2009, a decision I thought was not only bad for him, but for our future marriage and the kids we would have together. Like I said earlier, members of the public had forged such a strong personal attachment to Princess Diana that when she died, the world underwent a collective grieving period. As Richard Johnson put it in his own reconciliation with Diana's death, misrecognized by critics as manufactured or sentimental, this mourning was a typical expression of public grief and personal loss, magnified as much by the intimacy and extent of Diana's social connections, face-to-face and mediated. The illusion of intimacy is formed because, according to Chris Rojek, celebrities offer peculiarly powerful affirmations of belonging, recognition, and meaning. So if Princess Diana was able to connect on such a profound level with her audience, imagine how strong this type of connection has become through social media. Social media has essentially taken the illusion of intimacy and embedded it into our everyday lives. Platforms like Twitter and Instagram allow for celebrities to interact with fans directly. They can receive feedback in the comment sections and create stories on a daily basis where they speak to their followers as if they're sitting in a room with them. According to Turner, through this expanded domain of interactivity, there are now substantial elements of this parasocial relationship which no longer look like the simulation of a conventionally social relationship at all. If anything, social media has made intimacy a bit of a problem. So for this section, I want to look at Best Dressed, because I think she embodies the traits of a person like Princess Diana on a micro scale. She appears to be kind-hearted, yet vulnerable and unafraid to show her flaws. And the way she's been treated by her fans is a perfect case for how intimacy on social media can work against the celebrity's favor.
Hello there, and welcome back to a channel called Best Dressed, in which I'm neither really the best dressed, nor do I upload fashion videos particularly often.
If you're unfamiliar, Ashley, known as Best Dressed, is a YouTuber and former film student.
Yeah, I don't know who this is.
Who became known for making fashion and lifestyle videos. She joined the platform in 2015 and steadily rose to fame, to this date amassing almost 4 million subscribers. Now, there are tons of fashion people and vloggers on YouTube, but Ashley managed to stand out thanks to her impeccable editing abilities and striking sincerity in front of the camera. She discussed everything from mental health.
And then I have other days where I just completely like fall off the rails. I get down a YouTube hole, I start watching a bunch of movies, I just like crawl into bed and like burn time. And those can be correlated with like depressive episodes for me.
To her sex life.
And I felt ready to have sex for the first time with my first boyfriend. I had this like, it was an uncontrollable feeling of shame and guilt.
To her inability to live a fully sustainable lifestyle.
I wish that I could dive headfirst into sustainable fashion, stop buying fast fashion altogether, and just have a wardrobe of completely reformation and vintage and thrifted items. I'm wet just thinking about it. But unfortunately, as a college student paying rent in LA, that's just not happening right now.
She had previously been attending school and living in LA, but around January 2020, she moved to New York, where she was able to get her own apartment. But very soon after moving, the world quickly went into lockdown, and Ashley found herself confined to her home, all alone in a new city. This is why in September, she posted a video called How 2020 Has Me Feeling, where she presents a sort of film diary talking about her experience in isolation and fluctuating mental health, which is delivered over clips from the past few months of her life. And this was met with a very bizarre response. Comments ranged everywhere from, "Why didn't you wear a mask when you blew out the candles on your birthday cake?" to, "Why are you romanticizing the pandemic?" to, "You should get therapy." Very quickly after, a barrage of videos began to pop up evaluating where Ashley sits on the problematic spectrum and basically picking apart every apparent indiscretion she's ever made in her life. Things like, Ashley isn't as sustainable as she says she is.
See, y'all, this is what I was talking about earlier, where there is like this glee, this satisfaction that is found in someone who before, I don't think like people who are ready to turn on them or are like eating the popcorn while their downfall is happening held negative feelings towards them necessarily, but it is like this when it's happening to someone, even if before you weren't like, I fucking hate this person, there is this disconnect where you're like, yeah, no, I'm here for this though. Where you're like, oh yeah, no, I can see this, I guess. Why is it that we are so easily able to fall into this behavior of like, yep, bring it on. Great. I'm here. Fuck this person. What? Did you always secretly harbor hatred for this person for legitimate reasons, or you're just on board for like someone getting taken down, no matter who it is? Right? Like it happens all the time. All the time. Like if this were to happen to me, okay, I'm telling you, if this were to happen to me, there would be plenty of people, look, there are plenty of people who don't like me, okay? And they'd be like, yeah, I've been waiting for this. But then there would be other people who are just like happy to witness it because I'm a person who reached a level of success or had a platform, and now let's sit back and watch as I get what's coming to me, as I get what I deserve simply because I have more. I don't know. But yeah, that's how it would go. Like it's not good. It's not good behavior. It's not a good attitude. Yeah, it's the 4 wine cellars that I have. Aside from negativity, enjoying fucks, I think that there's a paranoia of being duped by a milkshake duck that metastasized into constant duck festigation. I think you're right. I think that's absolutely a part of it, where this person's too good to be true, or this person's enjoying too much positivity, too many people like them, that there's got to be something about what's their Achilles, what's the thing that's going to topple this, that's going to topple their castle. Kwan was never that great of a singer. Look at this video. Just the hypothetical of my downfall is killing me. What is duck vestigation? Okay, so milkshake duck is a meme of, oh, look at this. Like, look at this duck. What was it like? Look at this duck that's drinking a milkshake or whatever. It's a duck. And then 5 minutes later, oh, we regret to inform you the duck is racist. Where it's a phenomenon of somebody goes viral, okay? Like the guy who found the shrimp in his Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And then because that person is put on people's radars, who, a lot of people who didn't know who the fuck this person was before, then the either investigation begins, or somebody who's like, actually, I know this person's a piece of shit. This person sexually assaulted me. Or, hey, here's a video of this person saying the N-word. So it's like, oh, person enjoys virality. They go, they suddenly have newfound popularity and fame. And then 5 minutes later, we regret to inform you that they said the N-word, or they have sexual assault allegations against them. And like Lieutenant Dan was so obvious though. Okay. Lieutenant Dan was introduced, and it was not a matter of, oh, I wonder if this person, it will be revealed if he said the N-word. It was, yeah, we're going to find out in 30 seconds that Lieutenant Dan is like the racist asshole, like the most racist asshole ever. But the shrimp and cinnamon toast crunch, if you know that saga on Twitter, that's a perfect example of milkshake duck. But I think what that chatter was saying is that on the other side, people like want to find something, even if that thing is not objectively bad, like saying the N-word or being a sex abuser, but they want to find something that is going to reveal that, oh, this person actually isn't that great. And here's a list of reasons why. And then other people jump on it because they want to see it. They want the downfall. They do. They want the downfall for simply the reason that somebody is enjoying too much love, too much popularity. They're too well liked. Secretly assuming everyone is a villain. I think it's wanting the villainy, if that makes sense. I went to see Union because of you. It was good. Thanks for talking about it yesterday. Hell yeah. I'm glad you went and saw it. I haven't seen it still, but I'm glad you went and saw it because we talked about it.
Ashley comes from a wealthier family than she lets on, that she romanticizes mental illness and makes too many sex jokes. The horror. Now, online celebrities are frequently the subject of criticism.
She makes too many sex jokes. Wow. You know what? They're going to come for me and they're going to say, she's too much of a theater kid, so let's fucking kill her. She has too many references to cats.
But something about the critiques waged against Ashley feel unbearably intimate. Almost beyond the illusion of intimacy you get with regular celebrities.
Thank you for the gifted.
At some point, this healthy interest crosses over into a sense of ownership as the audience takes up a more paternalistic and controlling position over the celebrity. In his book, 21st Century Celebrity, Fame and Digital Culture, David C. Giles finds that online celebrities, or micro-celebrities, are cultivating fundamentally different relationships with their followers than the traditional celebrity. This is especially evident with vloggers, who confirm their authenticity through the performance of intimacy, like engaging in a conversational dialogue with the camera.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. Good morning. Today's the day.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to my channel.
Giles says that the
me. Sup, bitches? Welcome in.
Parasocial relationship between YouTubers and fans is reinforced further by moments of vulnerability on the part of the celebrity, particularly in the form of confession.
What's up,
Ashley's
idiots?
confessionals differ from the traditional
Hey,
Selena Gomez
fuckfaces.
confessional because they're coming straight from her, sitting in her own home and framing her own narrative. There are no peering eyes, or Diane Sawyers, or cameramen watching her as she tells us the details of her life. These are coming to us from a far less mediated environment. Like Giles says, it's during these moments that viewers feel they have access to the inner reality of the celebrity, and we see the gap between vlogger and viewers narrowing. When researching this video, I joined a subreddit dedicated to Best Dressed to better understand the culture of her fandom. And wow. The majority of the posts are either people nitpicking the details of her personal life or just straight up talking shit about her. Let's take a look, shall we? Her relationship with Ashley's videos. Her videos are clearly made with tons of love, patience, and effort. However, every other word that comes out of her mouth makes me literally physically cringe. The sex jokes she makes, while blatantly unfunny, are over the top cringy, and half the time incredibly gross and not relatable. See her latest apartment tour. She clearly does it as an attempt to destigmatize sex, which unfortunately falls flat as her joke usually falls into the TMI category. Not too sure how we can destigmatize sex if people
Honestly, y'all, let's cancel FanFan. Too many sex jokes. Too much talking about her pussy. It's time for her downfall. It's time that we take her down. She's done one too many. She has done one too many, and it is now time to burn her at the stake. Let's go after her, because the real problems, our real enemies, our true enemies, the problems in this world are women like FanFan who talk about sex.
Still think frank conversations about it are quote-unquote gross. Ashley's fashion evolution.
There's a genocide going on, but we must go after FanFan. Yes, we must dedicate our efforts to her. Before I hit play again and then pause again, one thing that I see all the time, it'll just hit me out of nowhere too. I swear I'm not even looking for it, but I'll just like randomly see a comment about me and it'll be like, I cannot stand her. But it won't give like reasons, or it'll be something like God, I just do not like her. And here's my thing, okay? If you can back that shit up, if you can have legitimate criticism, then fine. All right? But if it's something where you're like, I don't know what it is, but I just fucking hate her. Let's break that down. Let's get into why. Where does that come from? What is it? What is it that potentially has is the reason why you go, don't know what it is, but just can't stand her? You don't know what it is? Like if someone said, you know what? I cannot stand how many times she has played Lin-Manuel Miranda libbed up videos. And I'll be like, all right, fair. Or even if they're just like, I don't like her coverage, whatever. But I will not accept just, don't know what it is, just can't stand her. I'm like, no, you have to have a reason. It's like my theater teacher back in college would say, you made a choice It was the wrong choice, but you made a choice. Or at least make the fucking choice. You know? Make the goddamn choice as to why you don't like me.
Has anyone else
DB,
noticed how much her style has changed? I know she's getting older and can't stick to one thing constantly, but she was someone who I genuinely went to for fashion advice, and she had some really good tips about how to match things and make them work. Judging by her Instagram posts now, it's almost like she just throws thrifted things together and calls it an outfit, and a lot of the time they don't really work together. For someone who is so conscious of colors and materials and silhouettes, it's a bit disappointing for me, especially considering how much I really appreciated the advice she gave. This person tried to defend her but got zero upvotes and was promptly retaliated against. It's strange because these people seem to just purely dislike Ashley, yet are congregating in a forum as fans. Obviously, these types of posts will appear in any subreddit, but the sheer volume of nitpicking and overanalyzing makes it look like this is the consensus within her fanbase. And I'm clearly not the only one who's weirded out by the atmosphere here, because the creator of the sub locked it due to what they perceived as toxicity and obsessiveness.
What?
And it's sad, because this started as a forum for people who wanted to share ideas about fashion and celebrate Ashley's hard work. What the growing accountability culture of her fandom seems to suggest is that because she has a platform, Ashley should publicly own up to all of her minor personal mistakes. But a lot of these perceived mistakes are a facet of—
Or because she has a platform, she must be perfect. And must be perfect for every single person who perceives her. And if not, then thus begins the downfall.
Being a human being, we're full of contradictions and flaws. Ashley doesn't address her mistakes because she still operates as a private person, since her fame was acquired so quickly and through unconventional means. She doesn't have a PR team, nor is she media trained. She hasn't adapted her life to celebrity status because she doesn't live the life of a celebrity. And it looks like this atmosphere amongst her fans may be getting to Ashley, since she seems to have entered an indefinite hiatus on YouTube and appears to now only be operating on Instagram. Of course, this is purely conjecture. But I'd probably leave YouTube too if I received this amount of condescending animosity disguised.
And again, why is it always people who shouldn't be run off the internet who are run off the internet? And the worst fucking people go nowhere! They stay! They don't leave! People who are legitimately bad, who it's like, yeah, they should not have a platform. They won't leave till they're dead. But yeah, there's just so many examples that I have seen of women who leave the internet. Women like, you know, Jenna Marbles, this Ashley, like Jenna Ortega, and every female celebrity who's been deep faked, Anne Hathaway, all these people who it's like, yeah, I'm leaving this place because I've just gotten too much harassment. And the harassment and the hate, it's not warranted. It's not. And we'll never be rid of Ben Shapiro. Not even after the Jubilee video. It's only strengthened him. It's only strengthened him. I think we need more Colleen Ballinger. Yeah, please. Please.
Is concern. In a study on veteran YouTube vlogger Zoella, Ann Jerslev states, performances of a private, authentic self are what is valued in social media celebrification through strategies of connectedness, accessibility, and intimacy. Because Ashley was so accessible to her fans, it gave them an illusion of access into her personal life that quickly devolved into an illusion of ownership. And then if you look at the comments under her Instagram posts, it seems that a large portion of her fans think she owes them an explanation for her hiatus since she's making money off of them with Instagram ads. This is exactly what's wrong with the parasocial relationship. The celebrity needs their audience to survive. So the justification quickly becomes, without us, you wouldn't be here. And is this acceptable in any other context? No, obviously not. And this is where we come to understand that social media has an intimacy problem. Social media has taken the traditional celebrity, who has an entire industry behind them, and conflated them with regular people who just so happen to achieve fame online, the micro-celebrity. Which means that all the media's power to harass and abuse celebrities has now been placed directly into the hands of the public. Like Sarah Zed said, we overestimate the systemic power of micro-celebrities. They receive all of the abuse up front, but might not have any of the resources to deal with it. If a star like Britney crumbled under the demands and pressure of being under the public eye, how do we expect someone much less powerful to make it through?
This is a story about a girl named Lexi.
Early morning, she wakes up, knock, knock, knock on her door.
A 2017 study found that 1 in 4 millennials would quit their job to be famous. Hey, the second I started getting any traction on YouTube, I completely reoriented my career path. People want to be famous, and Western society is so wrapped up in celebrity culture that it's almost impossible to imagine a world without them. As scholars Nunn and Biresi so astutely point out, the celebrity figure writes large the contradiction of contemporary identity for many citizens of the developed mediated society. The expectation that we have the right to live pain-free lives bound up with the current pressure to understand those same lives through painful emotion work. Celebrities, despite their astronomical wealth, carry the emotional burden of our society because we place so much importance on them. All I saw growing up was that fame isn't sustainable at all. My favorite stars as a child underwent extreme hardship in facing the brunt of public humiliation and venom that no individual should ever have to go through.
25 years old, and she's already accomplished everything she's going to accomplish in her life. It's mind-blowing, and she's so grown up. She's a mother, you know, it's crazy. It's weird to think that just a few years ago on this very show, she was this, like, sweet, innocent little girl in sweaty clothes riding around with a python. Have you seen Britney's kids? Oh my God, they are the most adorable mistakes you will ever see. They are so cute. They're as cute as the hairless they came out of. I'm serious, they're this cute, you guys.
I hate to be this person, especially because I've made a brand for myself in criticizing the wealthy. But I do think we're susceptible to dehumanizing people once they've reached a certain level of...
Oh, also, Britney Spears was not just targeted by the paparazzi and, you know, tabloids and crazy fans. She was... She was fodder for comedians. I mean, you saw that clip of Sarah Silverman, but so many comedians like had Britney Spears jokes completely at her expense because it was easy. It was easy to do, and they did the same thing with Amy Winehouse. Same thing. I mean, a lot of the celebrities that we've talked about who had very public mental health breakdowns. And how, look, it's all of this is, it's like an Ouroboros, right? It is it's a human centipede. It's just a circle of sickness where because this is so heavily consumed and it's entertainment and there's reward to it, then there's incentive. There's incentive for paparazzi, there's incentive for comedians, there's incentive for journalists, and there's incentive for consumers to keep consuming this because, you know, all the reasons that we've talked about. I remember Ellen used to have a recurring bit on Miley. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Ellen is such a villain. Such a villain. Which we've talked about a lot.
Fame.
I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. Like, this is messed up stuff that people are saying. Like, people telling me to hang myself, people just, like, blatantly disrespecting the fact that I'm still a human being is not okay at all. If this is the community that I'm in and the community that I put myself in, I don't know if I want to do that anymore.
This isn't me saying that celebrities shouldn't be held accountable.
Right.
There's an
right.
intrinsic power that
Right.
comes along with having a platform.
Dawn, thank you for the 26
But by
months.
deconstructing the foundations of fame, persona, authenticity, and intimacy, I hope that I've been able to demonstrate that it isn't so much the public or celebrity who are necessarily to blame, as much as it is the inherent structure of fame, and how quickly it can dehumanize the people who achieve it.
You have to realize that we're people, and that we just need privacy, and we need our respect, and those are things that you have to have as a human.
I'm happy to introduce this video's sponsor, HelloFresh.
Were you personally surprised by the Ellen news at the time when it first came out? No. Ellen was always one of those celebrities that everyone had a story about Ellen. Everyone, it was common knowledge that she was that she was very toxic and cruel, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll link that for you guys if you want that video. Yeah, I was gonna make the point too that she made at the end there, which this is not about treating celebrities as if they are infallible, right? This is all part of the unhealthy culture around celebrities, where you either treat them like they're these perfect beings, that they are gods who shouldn't be held accountable for things and aren't, not responsible for anything, or which is also actually, it's like two sides of the same coin, where you don't view them as human beings. Whether or not you are looking at them as they're perfect, we should never criticize them, they're gods and we are mere mortals. Or you go, they do not have any right to privacy. They should be hounded until they reach a point that they shave their head and have a public breakdown, because they're not humans. And so they don't deserve dignity. They don't deserve any compassion, any empathy. Yeah, I mean, our celebrity culture is really, it's really noxious, and it's why, must be humbled. It's why, taking this back to Chapel, which is what started off this conversation, Chapel is, for me, very refreshing, and somebody who I actually think is a good example of how celebrities should act, and how we should act towards Chapel, in recognizing that the culture needs to change. They can never make me hate her. Yeah, they can never make me hate you, Chapel Roan.